What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video here on the channel. Well, I want to give you an update on what Solana's price just did because it made an absolutely a beautiful move, one that even I didn't expect it to make. And so with that said, let's not waste any more time at all, and let's get straight into the video. Now, what we can see is, of course, that Solana's price is now above the trend line that we have been tracking for the last few months. You know, in the last few videos, I told you guys, hey, listen, I'm not quite sure if Solana's just going to go straight up through this thing. I said it's a possibility. We got a back test of this previous point of resistance. We flipped this MLR into a support zone, and so we could use that to clear this, but generally speaking, Solana doesn't just go straight up through this level, right? We got 618 to 786 macro Fibonacci resistance. We got structural resistance. We got structural resistance here. I mean, all of these things combined tell me that, hey, us breaking this is going to be difficult, but Solana doesn't give a shit. Solana made that move. Now, since we have now, of course, broken through this trend line, and we are now in a position in which if it is able to maintain out here, we could be opening up the door back up towards $200. Let me tell you exactly what I'm doing right now. Okay, so I actually just went ahead and I bought a little bit more Solana. Not a ton, okay, not a ton. Remember, realistically, I bought a lot down here. Okay, every single time we got below that little $135 threshold, we were buying on structural support, and then obviously my macro, like my major, or I don't want to call it big, but my big dollar cost average right here, you know, is, shoot, I think I did the majority of it around $31. I think my overall average cost is $31. So I'm not really going to do a lot of buying here, but I did buy a little bit. Now, the reason that I bought a little bit was because, again, yes, the door of opportunity is now open, and I'm very confident that Solana is going to start to slow down, right? I'm very confident we're not going to continue to do this. I don't think we're going to noseline it straight up towards $190. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think that the macro is now way more open than it was before, and now we could, at some point, start to make this move back up to $190 to $200. Now, a couple of the reasons why I don't think it's going to just shoot straight up, okay, shoot straight up, is due to the fact that, of course, what we're seeing on the RSI is just telling us it's very likely not going to. Everything we're seeing here is telling us it's very likely not going to. What we can see from a more macro perspective: high, higher high, high, lower high on the macro scene. If we zoom it down to this move: high, higher high, high, lower high. So what we have, or maybe even an equivalent high, but that's still exaggerated bearish divergence. And so what we can see here is that we're getting two drives of bearish divergence just within the last few days. Okay, and what that says is that this is a strong point of resistance. We're losing a little bit of momentum at it, and although we are putting in higher highs, the momentum of those highs is slowing down. And so typically, it's, you kind of think about it like a rock, right? If you throw a rock up in the air, what's going to happen is that it's going to go like this, and then it's going to go up, and then you're going to, like, at some point it's going to start to turn, and that gravity effect is going to start to take place, and then eventually it's going to start to pull back. And what we're seeing is that although we are still going up, we're starting to see that little slowdown. We're starting to see that momentum wane, and generally that is followed by some type of pullback. Now, when does that pullback come? You can't really tell, but personally speaking, I do think that it could be happening literally within the next week. And so because of that, my game plan here is that I just need to ensure one thing. So what I've done is I purchased some Solana because, again, yes, I think that we might make that move to the upside. Yes, we might get a pullback. Don't really care. I don't think the pullback will be that bad, but there is something that I need to make sure. I need to be sure of it, and that's that Solana's price does not come back within this wedge. Okay, what we need to do now is we need to be very sure and be certain that this isn't a fake out, because Solana does this every now and then. What'll happen every now and then is that Solana will break a key level of resistance, go back down, try to hold it, and then lose it. And when this happens, the pullbacks that follow that get ugly. Because when you see what's called a fake out, that's one of the most bearish things that can happen in a chart. Because it's saying the bulls had momentum to get it above it, but they weren't even strong enough to hold that breakout. And that is usually a little bit, demoralizing for the bulls. And then that usually does lead to these falls, right? And so at this given point, although I am buying because this opportunity is to the upside here, I'm protecting myself by saying I can't really set a stop loss, because you can't, not that I've seen, I don't know how to set a stop loss on a descending trend. But what I'm saying is that if Solana's price does fall back below this point of resistance, right? Or this previous point of resistance that has not been flipped at support yet. If we do lose this, maybe even if we can quantify it by saying over the next few days, if it loses $170, then I'm very likely going to close down those buys that I just did. And the reason being is because that puts us back below here, and now we have to battle again. Now we're in a fight again, and now we could easily come back down to $150, and I obviously don't want to be a part of a fake out. And so because of that, what I'm doing now is I'm saying, yes, I am buying because the opportunity is high to the upside, but there is a strong likelihood that we're going to to cool down, that we're going to maybe go sideways like that, or maybe start to pull back a little bit. And during that phase, if at any given point Solana's price falls back below this descending level of previous point of resistance, I am going to be closing down the buys that I just did there and looking to re-enter on them later on when the price is very likely much lower than it is now. And so I will, of course, continue to update you as this does play out. I am happy to finally buy a little bit more SOL, but again, as I said, my average cost is about $31. I did a lot of buying even back a couple weeks ago when we were around that $130 point, so it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to accumulate like crazy, but I at least do want to get in. I love buying some Solana, and so that's my game plan, just making sure we're not going to go through a fake out, and I will, of course, update you here. If this thing does prove to be a fake out, you'll be the first one to know. If it holds some support, you'll be the first one to know, and I'll let you know exactly what I'm doing as well. We've been covering Solana here on the channel 3 to 4 times every single week for the last 3 to 4 years straight, and so of course we're going to continue that momentum. So of course I hope you guys do enjoy, and I can't wait to see you all in the next ones. Peace out, everybody.